Alright, everybody, so it is Sunday morning. It is currently 3:52 a.m. for me, and it's that time again. We're going into the new episode, Cup 21 of Coffee with Contin. So, not really anything in particular I'm planning on talking about in this episode. If it strikes me, then we'll go over it. You know how I am. I don't really like to wing the podcast, so this is kind of where we're at. Un momento. Can't be coffee with Contin without starting the episode with some. You will never convince me, no matter how hard you try, that fresh hot coffee is not the most seductive thing to hit the ear. Now, there are people out there who are just casual coffee drinkers. That's perfectly fine. There are people out there who drink more coffee than they should. Also fine. There are people out there who don't drink coffee. You are a demon and need to be destroyed. I personally am a coffeeholic. I love coffee, and I will literally drink coffee at any point of the day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. Whether AM or PM, it doesn't matter to me. Coffee is my staple, and you will never convince me at any point to ever give up coffee. I will literally die before I ever give it up. So, moving on to less we'll say less dramatic things. Again, don't really have any one topic in particular I really want to go over. So, that being said, I figure it's my habit. I like to just wing things. You know, I've gone over a lot on this channel already. I have done this, like I said, this is the 21st episode of Coffee with Contin, and I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes of History of Draco. Then in addition to that, there have also been the History of Nuzlocke video that I did, and then there was the very special video that I posted that only a very select few people have seen or even know exist. That being said, it has been up to this point so far a very interesting 5 months of my life. You know, I'm gonna be honest, when I started this at the end of December, I personally, honestly didn't think that this series was going to be going on this long. I didn't think that I would be able to really come up with a whole bunch of crap to go over and again. But the funny thing is thanks to all of you that are listening to this right now, you've made it so much easier for me. I mean, I really don't have a true direction for Coffee with Contin. Like I've said from the beginning, this is just a social exercise to get myself better at speaking with people. And I've honestly noticed a vast improvement because this whole series. It started the first couple of episodes. There were always at minimum 3 takes. I've tried scripting this series. I've done a lot, honestly. And while there are a lot of YouTubers out there who like to reuse thumbnails, that's perfectly fine. You know what I mean? That's entirely up to you. It makes it more instantly recognizable for your series, and I'm all for that. You do your branding how you choose to do it. I always try to make sure that the thumbnails I'm using different ones for every episode that I post. I don't really like reusing them. For anybody that noticed, I had episode 20 of this. I had reused the brand new Coffee with Contin logo that I had made, and to be honest, it would be simple just to continuously reuse the same thumbnail over and again. But I like to challenge myself. Aside from building things, with paper, cardboard, duct tape, staples, tape in general, paper, that kind of thing, and looking into opening the forge in the next couple of years, I really like to challenge myself. Digital art is a hobby of mine. Pixel art specifically is a really good one. As a matter of fact, I may actually start using some of the custom sprites that I've made over the years, actually using those in thumbnails. That one is not likely going to be tonight. I already have something kind of picked out. From anybody that's seen the thumbnail and is familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm sure you will be able to instantly recognize the character. For those of you who don't, the character is the Dark Magician. It's a Dark Attribute level 7 spellcaster type monster from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or if you're really deep into the show's lore, it is Mahad, the court sorcerer from ancient Egypt. But honestly, it's just that's what kind of spoke to me on this one. I don't really have any kind of plan for when I do these thumbnails. It's just a matter of I look for something random that I have currently done, or if I'm planning to, like with the History of Draco stories, I like to create the thumbnails pretty much from scratch, or I'll take a base that I can work with and manipulate it into something that I feel represents the episode that I'm working on. And if you noticed, that's kind of what happened with the History of Draco Valkyrius short video that was posted yesterday. And again, I apologize. I didn't really want to make that one so short, but unfortunately I allowed time to get away from me and didn't start on that one I should have or wanted to even. So there's kind of that one is entirely on me. But I will have the second part posted at some point within the next 48 hours. Like I said, this video started at 3:02. It is now 4:01, 3:52. It's now 4:01. So I will have that posted by some point before, hopefully before 4 a.m. Tuesday morning. Since this is now Sunday, and obviously by the time I go recording again, it's going to be Monday at the earliest. It's funny. I like to sit here and bag on some of the YouTubers I really enjoy watching the most, like Jen, you and Mark. I like bagging on a lot. Coco, I have no idea if you're watching this or not. Sage, Christy, Papa. I don't know if anybody, or the Chaos Arcade Boys. I don't know if any of you are actually watching these still. And if you are, awesome. If not, I'm not gonna bag on you about that. It would be nice, but I know you guys have far more important things to worry about, especially since I have no intention of really, at this time, I should say, I really have no intention of turning this into a money making channel. This is more than anything else just I'm doing this because I want to contribute and kind of give something for the YouTubers that have inspired me to want to do things like this. To, if nothing else, at least give them something to talk about if they choose to use it, for which any of you, Squishy, Papa, Sage, Christine, Scott, Kevin, Jen, Mark, all of you, if any of you wish to go over any of the content that I cover in your videos or live streams, anything like that, I'm more than happy to I'm more than happy to give consent to that. Especially considering that each and every single one of you that I just mentioned is infinitely larger than I am as a media presence here on YouTube. And should my channel really start blowing up at any point in the future, I may put more effort into the content that I'm putting out rather than just rambling videos kind of like this. I've actually been toying with the idea of potentially doing Reddit horror story type things, especially with some of the comments that have been made about, from you specifically, Lillian. You had mentioned about the one episode of the history of Draco where your hair literally stood on end with how I ended it. So I may very well go into doing horror stories or something like that. And if any of you want me to narrate them, I'm more than happy to. Because, hell, that's going to make it easier for me on doing things. I'll already have a script to work off of, and I just got to record. But, yeah, I noticed that I kind of use that a lot. I use and but and crap like that when I'm trying to think of what to say. While I enjoy the random element of the Coffee with Contin series, I don't really have a whole lot of explosive, I guess is the right word to use, inspiration on what it is I want to do or say with these videos. Now, a little fun fact actually is, since I do work such odd hours, I'm hoping that in a couple of months, since my schedule will very likely be changing to 4 10-hour shifts instead of 3 10s, a 6, and a 4, I'll have 3 days off instead of just 2. So I'll actually have more time to work with doing things like this. And I do want to start doing narrations at some point. That is something I'm interested in. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions, things that they want to hear me narrate for them, I'm definitely more than happy to. It can be your own original content, it can be royalty-free kind of content from Reddit or things like that. I'm happy to do it. But I may actually start so let me back this one up a little bit, the thought train. So Blue, I know I talk about Blue constantly. He's a great kid. Love him to death and would not trade him for the world. He's quite a pain in the ass at times. He has, I don't necessarily want to say, actually no, I'll just say drawbacks or downsides to who he is. But being that they do make up who he is because of every aspect of it, good and bad, I really wouldn't trade anything. but he has some rather annoying habits of being unable to really not share things. He has a very strange condition where it causes him physical pain with the amount of information stored in his brain. And quite honestly, it makes my head hurt just trying to figure out how something like that works. But for lack of a short form to put it into, he is actually in a relationship with somebody long distance. I am not going to really go into detail with that, only for the simple fact of a very overprotective family that she has. Her parents don't like her doing things that they disapprove of and have, according to Blue, on more than one occasion, factory reset her phone and deleted contacts, things like that. So, very controlling people. So, I'm not really going to go into any kind of detail that can pinpoint where she is. Just for the sake of protecting her. The two of them are very close and ultimately do intend on getting married at some point in the future. But that aside, I need some more coffee. That aside, she has actually indicated that she wants to get Blue into playing Dungeons and Dragons at some point, and has effectively straightforward asked for me to be Dungeon Master. Now, before you say a word, MK, I know you're going to try and turn this into some kind of a troll, like, Nuzlocke, or something like that, or something about the new Metallica album, some crap like that. I'm still working on a story for the campaign that I'm going to be running for them at some point in the future. And honestly, I believe that it is going to be something set in the Draco world, just because that is what I am most comfortable with. It's lore I know inside and out, and there are a lot of different things that go into being a dungeon master. One of the YouTubers I like to watch his videos most often when I'm trying to sleep is JoeCat is the YouTuber. He does something called A Crap Guide to D&D, which it's meant to be satirical in nature, but he does bring up a lot of good points about different aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, especially in regards to stereotypes like horny bards or wizards only using fireball, things like that. But he really did make it a good point about what it means to be a DM. You have to have a lot of knowledge about lore of what the setting is. You really need to familiarize yourself with characters. If anybody's taken the time to write a backstory, you really want to make sure and pay attention to details in that. You need to make sure and be assertive, which is another thing I'm working on with this series, is trying to be more decisive, at the very least, if not assertive. In addition, you also need to not necessarily have every single detail mapped out in your head as to what might be done, can be done, should be done, couldn't be done, shouldn't be done. But you need to be able to improvise and really be able to paint a mental picture when you're describing things. So, being that at heart I am a writer, It's going to be a fun challenge for me to work with. So I figure that working with the Draco family lore, that is the best place for me to start, because it is, again, something that I'm most comfortable with and something that I can easily, if need be, jury rig an answer to something off the top of my head. And being it is the world that I've created, it's, if I say it, then it's true because, I'm the one that made it. So, being able to, for the most part, as far as at least lore goes, be able to come off and say, so this is exactly what happened, and not have to have a question because I know for a fact it is fact, is very comforting, because that takes a lot of the random crap out of the factor for me. Other than that, it's really a matter of being careful exactly what elements I incorporate into the story, how they're incorporated, because it doesn't make sense for me to sit there and, for the sake of example, make the final boss actually be Contin to the campaign. In lore, a random group of people who've come together over the course of a couple of months, facing hardships together, while it makes for an epic regarding hero growth and things of that nature, it doesn't make any canonical sense for that grouping to be able to take down a legendary being who is literally of divine descent, who can turn into a dragon at will, and who is the ruling king of the vampires, on top of being an elf. You take just those four aspects actually by themselves combined, his power would far surpass any type of moral being that doesn't have any type of supernatural element to their blood. For a being of that type of standing to be able to be taken down by a group of adventurers, and actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, of all character races, I can honestly see Blue probably playing an artificer, regardless of race, because that's the type of person he is. He likes to tinker and he likes to build things. So I could really see that being the type of playstyle he goes for. But even with that type of information, and knowing he would probably be the type to focus on, very likely focus on anti-magic type armaments, even that doesn't make sense that that type of group would be able to take him down. So obviously, it's unfair to the gaming group to have to for them to have to face someone like Contin of his stature. So obviously, he would be more of like a guest party member type of deal, or like a quest giver. Although even that, I think I may focus more on not necessarily side family members, although I could very easily do that. But if I am going to be introducing any kind of Dungeon Master player character, or DMPC as it's called, I'd probably focus more off of someone like Elkara, who is distinctly a healer. She can fight, and Contin has personally trained Elkara in a lot of battle styles and a lot of different aspects of battle. So it would make perfect sense for, even for a Draco family member, for it to be a healer character who literally carries a bow staff or a quarterstaff uh, as their primary weapon. You can tell right off the bat that is not a character that is there to hog spotlight. They're literally there as support only. So if I were to introduce any kind of a character, it would be something to that effect, something that backs up the player character's party rather than taking the spotlight, and someone who's obviously very knowledgeable about the locations that they'll be visiting, somebody who can kind of guide them, kind of give them advice, that type of shit. But that is honestly a story for another time. For lack of a better way to put it, shower thoughts for another time on top of that. I have gone on already for the past 25 minutes, 26 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Let me know your thoughts about that. If you have any suggestions for narration content you want to hear from me, anything you might think that I would be interested in trying, feel free to make any suggestions in the comments down below. You know me well enough to know that I am constantly looking to see if anybody said anything, and I'm happy to respond pretty much as soon as I see it. So, that being said, you all have a wonderful evening. Whether it's evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you, have a wonderful day. If you're listening, Coco, I'm going to quote you. Just remember to live, laugh, love, and play. And remember, no matter what type of bullshit you go through during the day, no matter who gets in your path, on your back, in your way, just remember, coffee never judges. Cheers.